This is our third lesson in the study of the book of James. And so far, we have looked at the history of the book of James and how it came to be included in the Bible. As we learned, James was a half-brother of Jesus Christ, and after Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, James became a convert of Jesus and a leader of the early church in Jerusalem. Now, James was known as James the Just, the one with camel knees, and this was a reference to his frequent and lengthy time of prayer down on his knees that resulted in big calluses being there. James wrote this letter as a general letter to all the Christians of his time, and it has meaning and significance for us today because its message and topics are so practical and so direct. James begins his letter with a word of instruction. He immediately reminds his readers that their faith in God is definitely going to be tested. And that's the way life is. He said in verse 2, he said, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith will produce steadfastness. And let steadfastness, then, have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." James reminds us that trials and tests are a normal part of living as a Christian. All these challenges that comes through living develops our faith and our confidence in God to see if he'll see us through them, and he does, each and every kind of challenge. We should understand that rejoicing should be our reaction to this rather than complaining. We should be happy in our knowledge that God's working out everything for our best interests. Just like the Apostle Paul said in Romans 8:28, we know that all things work together for the good to them that love God. As we continue on with our lesson, we're looking at verse 9 and down through verse 11. "Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation, because like a flower of the grass he will pass away. For the sun rises with its scorching heat and withers the grass, its flower falls, and its beauty perishes. So also will the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits." James is stating here that there's a difference in social status and class. There always have been rich and the wealthy, and there's always been the poor and the desperately poor. Jesus himself admitted that poverty was a chronic condition that always had and always would exist. In each of his Gospels, he makes a reference to the fact that the poor you will have with you always. And so then it follows that they're rich and poor also among us Christian believers. We're not to seek material wealth. It's not to be the focus of our earthly lives, because earthly wealth is only temporary. You know, this theme is taught throughout the entire New Testament. It isn't that money is evil or bad, but we're warned that the love of it can lead to bad things. Be content. Being content with what we have is how Christians should live. If, on the other hand, a poor Christian suddenly is blessed with wealth, he or she shouldn't be ashamed or hide it, keep it a secret. James encourages them to boast or to cheer because of it, because it is a rare event, and it should be seen then as a blessing from God to be celebrated. James then exhorts us not to let the sudden wealth, though, become the central focus of our lives. It shouldn't change how we relate to God and other people. And then on the other hand, the same attitude should prevail if and when wealthy folks lose their money. As the poor brother should forget all his earthly poverty, so the rich brother should forget all his earthly riches. By faith in Christ, two of are equals. That's how God sees us. And so we should rejoice in whatever state or condition we're in financially. The reason for an attitude of not focusing on material wealth is this: life and the wealth we accumulate will pass away just like a flower of the field. And the trials and the challenges, the obstacles in our path that we have to endure serve to remind both the rich and the high that though that they might be very comfortable materially in this life, it is still only in this life, which is brief and which fades just as the grass grows brown and the flowers fade away. The land of Israel is a mostly desert climate, and for most of the year the fields and hills are barren. But during the rainy season, many kinds of grasses and beautiful flowers spring to life with the increase in moisture. James reminds his readers that grasses and flowers last for only a short time before withering away. On the scale of eternity, this is how quickly a rich man also will fade away in his pursuits of acquiring wealth. The riches of this world will certainly fade away, and James says the rich man also will fade away. If we put our life and our identity into things that fade away, we'll fade away also. How much better to put your life and your identity into things that will never fade. If a man is only rich in this world, when he dies, we know he leaves his riches behind. But if a man's rich before God, when he dies, he goes to his riches. Let me ask you, where are you putting your wealth, your treasure? The Bible teaches that there's one place of security that nobody can steal from. I refer to it as heaven's bank. Let me encourage you today to make a deposit there. Share Christ's love and kindness and goodness to others. That's the kind of deposit that gathers eternal interest and is absolutely secure. Until next time, this is Pastor Carl wishing you a truly God-blessed